and welcome to another Mistweaver commentary video. Today we're looking at Iron Maiden's Heroic. This fight can be a bit of a struggle, so I'll show you how I do it with my guild. Hopefully it can give you some ideas of how to pace the fight. Here we had 5 healers and we sent the Resto Druid to heal on the ship. As for talents, I used Xuen and Pool of Mists. So let's start the video. I start the fight in Crane Stance to get some extra mana T stacks. I go into the fight with 4 chi and pre-pot an intellect potion. We get a rapid fire in the melee, so I switch to ranged. I got 6 stacks of mana T, which is good enough for an opener. I use Xuen for this fight, since we go with the tactic where we spread out to minimize the damage from Blade Rush and Blood-Soaked Heartseeker. Xuen can cleave all 3 bosses and add some extra damage, which is nice. I know some raids like to use the stacked strategy instead, and if you use that in your guild, you should of course go with Russian Jadewind instead. As you can see, we place Maidens at the edge of the square, and anyone who gets Blood Ritual runs to the red cross at the corner. People who get Rapid Fire should kite it around the edges of the area. That way there's minimal risk that players get hit by these abilities. Now we go into the bombardment phase. There isn't much damage until someone gets hit by the bombs, so I just scan the raid for injured allies and single target heal them. We have a bear tank here, druid tank, which I must keep an extra eye on. Bears have notoriously spiky health, most likely because they rely more on self-healing than mitigation. Bear tanks should be kept high on HP just to minimize the risk of too large health spikes. Otherwise, I just cast some Renewing Mist in preparation for damage. I also use Chi Burst here, but it's not unusual that I use Sense Sphere in this fight, since it's nice to have another instant spell when you are moving this much. So we're back out of the bombardment phase. People start taking more damage from various abilities. I go back to using Uplift since we're spread out. The damage isn't easily predicted, it sometimes only hit a few players, so I spot heal any injured I see, but keep Renewing Mist up for those times Uplift is needed. During these easy phases, I take it easy with my mana and only heal lightly. There will be an enrage at 20%, so I'm trying to be conservative until that point. Here the Maidens hit 30 Iron Fury, so we get Penetrating Shot, Blood-Soaked Heartseeker and Convulsive Shadows. We stack on Penetrating Shot, but I had forgotten to switch to the right talent, so I have Diffused Magic instead of Dampen Harm. Penetrating Shot is physical damage, so Diffused Magic won't help much. The Penetrating Shot can do quite a lot of damage, so it's good to have prepared for some uplifts. In between, I pretty much focus only on the tank. On Heroic we don't dispel Convulsive Shadows either, we just heal through it. It's less damage that way, at least in this difficulty. There will be some times when the raid damage is really low, like here for example. I could have gone Crane Stance here, but for some reason I played it a little too safe. Usually I stance a lot in this fight, which is good since you'll need the mana T-stacks till later, and any extra damage you can put on the bosses is always helpful to the raid. We go into a second bombardment phase here, and I get targeted by rapid fire at the same time. I chose to stop at a safe spot from the bombs here, but the rapid fire caught up with me, so I pop Fortifying Brew and heal myself through it. As I spoke of earlier, the raid will be relatively stable in this part of the fight until someone gets hit by a bomb. If you have people constantly taking damage from the bombs, stay in Serpent Stance and raid heal. A Mistweaver's job here is a little different depending on your setup. The ideal is that you have some other healers that can tank heal more efficiently, so you can spend the chi on uplift. But that's not always possible, and if you don't have a good setup, you might have to spot heal with Enveloping Mist more. A third option is to go all the way Crane here, but that's only possible if your raid is good at dodging bombs. I'm staying in Serpent in this moment because some people are a bit careless and take hits by the bombs, but otherwise Crane healing can be a really good option. We're closing in on the 20% enrage. I'm a bit low on mana and mana T-stacks since I've been single target healing quite a lot. I could probably have countered this by being a lot more in Crane stance, but it's difficult to tell on beforehand if people are going to take a lot of damage or not. It's completely dependent on how the raid is handling the bombs. I had time to pop a channeled mana pot there before the enrage, so it's alright. I want to prepare for the enrage by having as much mana as possible, so I heal quite lightly here, which means I don't use Surging Mist that much. Our Disc Priests are pretty much at full mana, so I could rely on them for a bit. Now it's just about trying to get the boss's health down as evenly as possible while handling all the mechanics. Once we go into the enrage, we want to focus down one boss at a time to minimize the number of active enrage abilities. That is, Dominator Turret, Dark Hunt or Sanguine Strikes. I get a rapid fire there, and by the end of it we go into the last phase of the fight. This is where the most stressful and fun part begin. We have a Dominator turret up and a penetrating shot that doesn't get much help soaking. As you can see, we lost some people there. I stand far away from the turret to dodge the fire easily. I also get a Dark Hunt on me, but I don't have any defensive, so I just switch to self-healing. I focus mostly on the tanks, and I've already used Life Cocoon. Common causes for wipes here are too many hits by the turret and the penetrating shot is not getting soaked. I was too focused on healing there, so I missed soaking the shot. We start by killing Admiral Garand to take away the deadly turrets as fast as possible. I'm switching to healing 50-50 on the tanks and the raid now. If we lose the Marak tank, the raid will pretty much instantly die since the Sanguine Strikes won't be mitigated. We lost our Paladin tank there as well, but we quickly got him up on his feet again. I haven't cast Revival yet. I should probably have used it when the turret was up and the raid was taking a lot of damage. We only have Sorka and Marak left now, and their abilities are much easier to handle than Admiral Garand's penetrating shot and Dominator turrets. It seems a bit hairy now, but it looks worse than it is. We lost the Sorka tank and not the Marak tank, so the mitigation is still up. There's just a few percentages left on the boss health, and even with only half the raid alive, it's not a problem. Here Marak dies, so we only have Sorka left. I use Revival here to stabilize the raid. Now it's only a matter of keeping the tank alive until the very end. Do also note that I don't have much mana left here. Much was spent in the last phase to burst people up from deadly abilities. Keep in mind when you do Iron Maidens yourselves that you should have enough mana for the end. The fight usually lasts about 10 minutes. So I landed on about 30k HPS here, which is an okay number for Mistweavers in this fight, especially with 5 healers. I could probably have been a little bit higher if I had used Revival a bit more strategic. It's a long fight where you could potentially use Revival 3 times, so it's best to get the know of the fight and then anticipate where it can be most needed. If I had gone Crane Stance a bit more when the raid was stable, I would also had more mana for spamming Surgic Mist at the end, which would really have helped, so that's also a thing I could have improved. But all in all, it's a good fight with a really hectic end, so you really need to be on your toes. But thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please drop a comment below, and I'll see you next time.